Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show. I'm your host, Brian Rogers. And before we get started, I wanted to remind everyone that you can start the session by clicking on the play button if you haven't done that already. And you're going to go into On24 and you're going to see there's some video console directions. So you're going to see there is a media player. We should be able to see myself and my guest as we go along. And we are going to be sharing a screen in that area. There's also a resources and link section. And you want to take a look at that. That's actually where we do have some really amazing resources available related to the advanced dashboard platform and some other resources that you can utilize and download as well. And then we also have the live Q&A. That's probably the most important. This is a live event. So you are going to want to, be able to put in those questions. We want to have those questions because we are going to have my guest here, Jason's going to demo all these things on the advanced dashboard platform. So you want to put in your questions because you have that opportunity to ask them. If you have something that you think of, definitely put that in there, and that makes the experience so much better for us and for everyone because we can answer those questions live for you. And then lastly, there is a content section where you can click on. There's a little envelope icon at the very bottom. If you need help with opening an account or are thinking, hey, I really like this advanced dashboard platform. I haven't really even opened up a self-directed account, and I want to know how would I do that. We have the ability for you to put in your information, and we can have someone contact you to help walk you through that process. So take a look at all those items. There are some other buttons all along the bottom you can explore. If you hover over them, it will tell you what it is, but we'll explain some of the other ones a little bit later in the show today. So that being said, I wanted to start our program by summarizing the general theme of the markets in early 2023 in just one word. It's a scary word that many of us don't like, but it's change. So changing inflation, changing interest rates, changing economic forecasts. And some investors might feel pretty intimidated by it all. If you were to pull up the Chicago Board of Options Exchange Volatility Index, I know it's a mouthful, but if you remember that and you were to Google it, it tells a very interesting story. It tracks the expectations for short-term price movements in the S&P 500 index, and a level above 30 suggests tremendous uncertainty among investors. Well, the volatility index touched a record high. It's a little bit scary, but I know we've all been through this already. A record high of more than 80 during the pandemic, and it's peaked several times since then, above 30 in early 2023. So investors seem a little jittery, to be a little bit of a jittery group these days, but consider that change can be a good thing. Remember, the more uncertainty and risk and things like that can come with more return in the world of investing. So especially this is a good thing for traders. After all, big swings in asset prices may offer the chance to earn significant returns. It's up to the traders to stay on the pulse of the market and find these opportunities. Well, TD Advanced Dashboard offers several tools and metrics that can help traders do just that. Here to demonstrate how to use those tools or utilize Advanced Dashboard to find that related to volatility is Client Education Instructor at TD Direct Investing and my colleague, Jason Hnatyk. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well, Brian. It's a new experience to be on this side of the table here, but I trust you'll be gentle. But in a serious note, it's a great opportunity for me to help show off the Advanced Dashboard platform for everybody out there in the audience. I'm really looking forward to their questions.
Oh, excellent. I'm really excited to get started as well. But before we get going, just a quick note to our audience that any of the securities shown, because we will display, there's going to be all kinds of things flashing and coming at you on the advanced dashboard screen. But any of the securities you see or that we look at examples are going to be just for illustrative purposes only. So they're not endorsed by TD Bank or any of its affiliated companies. And with that said, let's hop into the platform and show our audience how it's done. Are you ready, Jason?
Let's get started.
All right. Well, first off, I know one of the burning questions I want to know is, that our audience knows, I already know, but the audience definitely wants to see is what is Advanced Dashboard and how can a trader gain access to it?
Sure, absolutely. So Advanced Dashboard, it's a wonderful program. And first I want to start by saying that we're going to jump in and show off a lot of its features in just a moment, but Advanced Dashboard is essentially an extension of WebBroker. You don't need any extra login credentials. You don't need any extra passwords. So you keep it simple there. You got to be in WebBroker. You can be in Advanced Dashboard all at the same time, but it's a step up in technology. It gives you the opportunity to to currently make the platform your own. Webroker is a wonderful tool and it's got a very high level amount of information, but it's a website, so it's not able to be customized to your exact needs and tastes and wants. You need to go throughout the platform to find everything. Well, that's exactly what Advanced Dashboard isn't. Advanced Dashboard is a customizable platform so that the information that's important to you, I can design workspaces. So I have all of that at my fingertips. I get to make it my own. It's not a one-size-fits-all environment. And then beyond that, it is also a real-time streaming environment. Webroker is real-time, so you get your quote. That's the real-time quote as of up to that second. But if you're looking to continue and follow along with the market, you'll need to refresh things. But unlike that in Advanced Dashboard, your news, your charts, your quotes, your order sets, all of that is updated in real time, especially when we're thinking about a volatile market environment like we're in now. Not only do you have the information where you want it to be, but it's updated and streaming right so you can see the changes without having to do any extra work. And then lastly, just as a quick aside, Advanced Dashboard, once again, it's developed for active traders, but really it's available for anybody that's looking to have that customizable experience. But it's intended to be used for folks that are trading equities as well as options. So those are for the more involved trader for that. When I say equities, I'm also referring to ETFs as well. If you're more interested in mutual funds, fixed incomes, as well as GICs, Webroker is going to be the appropriate spot for you. And then you can also still have Advanced Dashboard open to then jump into the products that I mentioned just a second ago.
That's great. It oftentimes reminds me, Jason, of, excuse me, if you're going to a car dealership and you're buying that new car, you have that standard car on the lot. That might be more like Webroker. You've got everything that's standard on the dashboard too, if we think of the term dashboard as well. But with Advanced Dashboard, you can pick and choose and customize and get all the bells and whistles right in one place, right?
It's conveniently named, I guess. You got that. It's going to give you lots of alerts and lots of flashing colors. And well, I guess we were really not looking to see those flashing colors on our car, but Advanced Dashboard helps to draw your attention with some changing of the colors. So yeah, good point.
True. You don't want to see that check engine light or anything like that.
Not ideally, no.
All right. So, well, what are some of the features Advanced Dashboard offers that set it apart from other platforms, especially when it comes to what we're talking about today with that greater volatility?
Absolutely. And once again, we are going to be showing off these features in just a quick moment. I think the first one to talk about is really just to highlight the customization factor. Once again, not a one-size-fits-all platform. I may have certain key pieces of data. I might have certain technical indicators that I like to put on my study. I want to have certain screens up so that I can work with them, but that won't necessarily be the same experience that you'd like. So that's once again a key strength of Advanced Dashboard. You got to make it your own. Even if you've got a bank or an array of monitors, you can detach and move things around so you can take advantage of all of the real estate. So it's a wonderful platform to really kind of it's almost like Play-Doh. You can make it into what you want it to be, and you can be creative with that if that's your intention. We've touched on the real-time streaming nature of the platform, so everything's updating in front of us. I really think about watch lists when I think about the streaming. So I can have a watch list of either the markets that I'm monitoring, stocks that I'm monitoring. Think about maybe my positions that I've got a watch list on. Everything updates in front of me, so you can either watch it happen in real time with the colors like we've been talking about, or you can kind of dull that down so it's not quite as Griswoldy Christmas effect if that's really your style. But then once we've got this real-time information, you have the speed to act, because within the platform, things are point and click. We don't need to necessarily go through long drawn out order processes. Once again, we've got the information, it's real time, it's updated, it's in the place that we want it. It's just point and click. Put your mouse on the asking price if you want to buy something. So it's just really go ahead and click. You're into your order tickets. It's efficient. It saves time, and it can help you really attempt to time the market in what can be challenging times. Another tool that's important. This is a step up from Webroker is your access to market depth. So if you're looking to see what's beyond the standard bid and ask that you're seeing in Webroker or Advanced Dashboard, Advanced Dashboard offers you level 2. So level 2 is important to see kind of what are the lower bids beyond the best bid, and what are the higher asks beyond that ask. So we get a sense of the depth of the market. Where's orders stacking up amongst the others that are in the market. So important tool. It gives you access to more information. And the last thing that I'll highlight here is the enhanced charting package. So in the new Advanced Dashboard, we've partnered with TradingView They operate their own services, which you could pay for outside of the advanced dashboard if that's your prerogative. But we've brought that into our platform at no additional charges within the platform. There's well over 100 customizable indicators, 50 different drawing sets, really a high-end charting package that we're going to explore in a little bit later that's going to give you the ability and access to information to help you make more informed decisions.
All right, yeah, those are some great things that differentiate it from web broker. I mean, now you're teasing the audience, Jason. Let's take us. We got all these features and all these great things. Now let's walk us through what are ways that a trader might hunt down trading opportunities using advanced dashboard. Let's start with kind of big picture. How might a trader get a wider view of what's going on in the market?
Of course, yeah. No more teasing here. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to start sharing on my screen now. Before we get into advanced dashboard, I'd be remiss if not to show everyone out there in the audience how to access the platform. So let's take a quick step back, do that, and then we're going to jump in and review some of the key tools to help identify what's moving in the market, and so we can help once again like that dashboard effect, so I can then start digging in to get some more information. All right, from a launching perspective, we should all be on the home screen here on my demo account. There is two separate ways to launch the platform. You can click on trading here at the top of the page, and then under the trading platforms, you'll notice there's advanced dashboard. But alternatively, the quicker and easier way to do it is up here in these quick action buttons. We have an advanced dashboard button here as well. If we go ahead and select that, that's going to bring us to the page, which is going to bring you and show you data packages, system requirements, and things like that. But then it's really just a one-click opportunity to get into advanced dashboard. There's no extra programs to download. There's no updates that you're needed to make. All you need to go ahead and is click on this web version link here, and it's going to pop up. You'll notice at the top of my screen, I have it already launched in a separate tab. So I have the opportunity to navigate back between both platforms. If there's tools that I like in web broker, just because I'm using advanced dashboard, that doesn't mean web broker's off limits. I can interact in both environments at the same time. So it's even more valuable in that regard. So let's jump over and take a look at advanced dashboard now. So some of the features that I want to highlight that can help kind of indicate for us kind of in a volatile environment, what might be some of the companies that might be performing best? How are they performing against their peers? What's going on? Now, what we're looking at first, I want to highlight here is what's called a heat map. A heat map is effectively a glorified watch list, but it's broken down visually here. So you can see it's broken down by sector. We've got the financials up here in the top left. We happen to have healthcare's all the way down in the very, very bottom right. But what I'm looking at is these are broken down by company. The size of the squares is all broken down by market cap. So I can see the companies based on their scale against each other. And the brighter the green, the higher the stock is percent changes for the day, and the brighter the red, the lower the stock is performing. So just at a glance, I'm getting an opportunity to see just how companies are performing against each other. And once again, maybe here's those flashing lights that we've been talking about, just kind of string the theme together. Now I can dive in and find out, and find more information to maybe indicate why a particular company is moving. Is there some technical indicators that I need to be looking at? Is there some news? So once again, this is meant to be just a high-level overview. It allows me to zero in on specific events that are happening. Now, beyond that, this is a close cousin of the heat map. This is called a bubble chart, and this bubble chart is it's relatively new. It's new to this platform for advanced dashboard. So here's what we're looking at here. We've got the Dow Jones index. So there's the 30 biggest companies in the US. We've got it plotted on this chart. Once again, the size of the bubble is all about the company's market cap, and we're looking at the performance of the companies over the last year. If the year was maybe a bit too long of a time frame for you, looking for some more short-term indication, we can certainly shorten this to let's maybe go 3 months so that you can see how things are rearranging. I'm now able to see a more shorter-term environment, what companies, what sectors, where's the action going? What companies are actually producing results that maybe I want to be a part of? So just an opportunity for me to find ideas in a really visually appealing and stimulating way. All right, the last thing I'll touch on here is the gainers and losers section here. So I've got a gainers and losers. This is more of it's done on a daily basis. You'll notice the top half of the screen is broken down into gainers, and we have losers down there on the bottom. You have the opportunity, much like you can in a watch list, to customize each one of these columns so you can get the information that you want. But in a nutshell, what this is telling me is I get a view of, I'm looking at the TSX. I've got the opportunity to look at many other exchanges to find out what which companies have gained or lost the most over that given trading period. I can look at all day, or I can look at it in much smaller segments in time. And additionally, I can actually look at more stocks if I wanted to broaden out that list to really get a better look of what might be going on. So once again, just really quick, easy tools to find identifiable companies that are actually moving in either up or down directions for the day. So pretty cool tool that's available to everybody.
Yeah, it's nice that you can work things down into a smaller list. There's the 10,000 plus stocks that you could search through on the markets, but if you can get it down to a list, if you're trying to identify something that might have a trend or opportunity, those are some great tools.
Of course, yes, you're right.
But I want to know now, Jason, on you've used Advanced Dashboard for quite a long time, and I know you've in your career you've helped tons and tons of clients navigate the platform, and you're an expert on all the new features that we have. How do you personally like to customize your overview to get started with research when the market is volatile like it is right now?
Yeah, of course. And once again, just because what you're seeing on my screen is the way that I like to set it up, and if you've been a part of my master classes, you may have seen a version of this. Once again, if you can take and use this to your own advantage, or you can customize it in any way that you see fit. So yeah, absolutely. Let's jump in, and I'll walk you through briefly my setup that I like to use. So let me start sharing on my screen again. And I've happened to have the workspace already customized, so it's ready to go. So we don't need to necessarily build it out again. So I've got it titled. I've named it. I've been obviously very creative here. I've named it Flex Sheet. But if you've got multiple tabs at the top of the screen, you can really give this a really unique name to ensure that you're always going to know what tab to click on to get the right information. And alternatively, if you wanted to rename your tabs, you can rename or remove them by clicking on the hamburger menu at the top of the screen. So the way that I've got my screen set up, you can see that I've got a watch list on the left-hand side. I've also got this tab with the most active stocks for the day. So I can, just at a glance, I've got a number of stocks that I'm watching, and I can find what companies happen to be moving the most to the day. It's a little bit different from the gainers and losers. These are just what the companies that have traded the most number of shares or had the most number of trades that day. So once again, just to get to see what's hot today, doesn't really tell me more than that, but it could be an indication to dive in and get a bit of more information. Now, in the middle part of the screen, I know there's more information that's important than just the quote and the change for the day. So I have my chart listed in the middle of the screen. I happen to be looking at a chart of Apple. If I wanted to bring up maybe, let's say, Enbridge, you can see what's cool about this is that I have my watch list component. It's linked to my charting feature, and I've got my most commonly used indicators saved onto my chart. We can maybe touch on saving indicators and study sets a bit later, but once again, I've got that all preloaded. So at a click of a mouse, I'm getting my Enbridge quote is launched immediately to my quote, or to my chart rather. And then alternatively as well, I happen to also have a news function that's added in here. So now I can, maybe get a look at some of the important stories that are driving the market. And because I have it linked back to my watch list and my most active tool, it's given me Enbridge specific news, which is what I've clicked on. So one click is giving me a very high level amount of information. And then moving over to the right-hand side of the screen, I've got that market depth, that level 2 that I was talking about, so I can get a sense of what's going on. Where's the pressure building up from a buying and selling perspective? If I've got a large order that's going through, if depending on the size represented on the bid of the ask, I get to see what orders are next. So when kept informed, I'm able to understand maybe to spot some trends. And so once again, see that buying or selling pressure before it actually happens. And then lastly, once again, I've really tried to take advantage of all of the space here. So I've created a tab on the right-hand side. This is where I get my options information that's over here on the right. So once again, if we get into options later, we can dive into some of that. But once again, I like to see that. And it's one of those things, if I'm doing a bit of research on a stock, I don't necessarily need to do different research when I'm talking about options. I just need to find the appropriate option strategy to align with the market sentiment that I'm feeling about the stock based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's a really nice, simple, and usable setup that you have there, Jason. I know you mentioned the fact that you could have the news pop up, for example. by clicking Enbridge and then have it pop up in other areas. Are you able to walk us through really quickly how that works in terms of linking those items together?
Yeah, I sure could, because understanding and kind of mastering that skill of linking things together is a kind of a must-have for the advanced dashboard user. So let me go ahead and share on my screen again. And the way that we term this is our channel configuration. We want to get the tools speaking on the same channel so they're communicating together. The way that we can accomplish this is if we go up, you'll see that each of these components have similar icons at the top of the chart or the top of the component window. This icon up here that you'll see with the 4 vertical rectangles, that's how we can link things together. Now, I've been working off of the blue channel and thinking through how we want to accomplish this. When I click on a symbol in the watch list, I want to send it out to the other components that I've got linked to it. So I'm going to go ahead, let's go. So you can see that I've got my watch list set to send. If I go ahead and click on, let's say BCE, you'll notice that any component that I've got set to receive, if we go now to look at news, you can see that it's set to receive. If we look at the option chain, same thing. It's set to receive. Market depth and charts would also be displaying the same thing. So it's all about sending and receiving on the same channels. It's just as easy as that. And one thing to remember as well, or there's really 2 things, when you add in new components to your workspaces. So if I wanted to add in a new component, I would click on this plus symbol here, and it would bring up all the list of different components that I wanted to add in. So maybe I wanted to add in, let's just pick one here. Maybe we wanted to add in time and sales. Time and sales, once again, it's going to show me a list of the stocks, the trades that have gone through. When you add in a new component, you'll need to make sure that you set the configuration so that it's going to receive any updates that you make from your sending component. And then lastly, which really makes it convenient within the platform is this linking of the channels. The configuration of channels is platform wide. So it's not limited to just the workspace that I'm on. So I'm on my flex sheet. Everything was clearly linked together. Let's say we go take a look at analytics. Okay. Analytics is one of the preloaded factory default settings that everybody has access to. It gives us more access to more fundamental information. I can get some analyst information. I can get earnings reports. I can get information about dividends and things like that. So you can see that if we look at its channel configuration, it's set to receive on blue as well as all the other channels. So conveniently, I've set my own page up, and I'm getting access to this real-time update within the platform, really to make things convenient and to give me access to a lot of information in a fairly quick manner. So yeah, so that's channel configuration for you, Brian.
Thanks so much, Jason. And I think convenience is the key that you said there. Like, there's that huge benefit of being able to like just click the stock once and then have it pop up in all those different places, which is a big advantage compared to WebBroker, which WebBroker has a lot of great information, but it is separated in a number of different windows, and you have to move back and forth and you remember where you were and go back to some of the data and things like that. But you can have all this in one place within Advanced Dashboard and one click of the mouse, right?
Yeah, you are absolutely right on that. And it's one of those things I've tried to be efficient with not putting on too many tools, because we don't want to, we don't want to miss the forest through the trees but once again, when I've got things that I really want, maybe I've got that on one tab, but you always, I've got a few tabs, but you can always continue to create more tabs just to make this a more efficient, more customized experience, for yourself.
Yeah, and speed is of the essence too when we're thinking of all the volatility that's in the market right now. Speaking of which, one of the other questions I want to ask, now that we've seen your setup, is could you walk me through what steps you would take if you were to notice a specific stock, after you've kind of noticed something in the market right now that did really catch your attention? What would you do? What are the steps you would take to kind of research that further before you may place a trade?
Of course. So, right. And that's going to be a very personal decision, right? We've all got different data points, but ultimately, there's some of the tools that I've already referred to, such as the most active section. I find that's a great place to begin. Once again, I've got a list of stocks maybe I already might be looking for, but the most active tool is an opportunity for me just to kind of take a flyer. Let's cast the net out there and see what's responding in the market, either positively or negative. Is there an opportunity for me to get involved in what everybody else is looking at here for the day? So what I'm looking at here is I've got the last hour. Maybe let's go ahead and shorten that down even a little bit. Maybe I'm looking to make a short-term trade. So I'm going to set this tool to look at the most 20 most actively traded stocks on the NYSE over the last 15 minutes. So once again, we can take a look here. Maybe I've got an idea of where I'm looking to diversify into. Maybe I'm looking for maybe a potential tech company. Maybe I'm looking for something that is, in this case, the thing that jumps out to me is Shopify. It's one of those things that's dual listed. So maybe I've got an opportunity to buy and sell it on either side of the border to help with maybe some foreign exchange conversions if that happened from here. And this is kind of why my setup has been set up in this way. I get the opportunity to see, look at this stock happens to be trading very actively today. It's the change, when you look at the change on Shop, it's only up, a penny today, but a lot of people are getting involved. So what's going on there? So it's pretty actively traded. So now let's go ahead and find a little bit more information. So maybe I'd start by looking at the news to see if there's an opportunity to highlight here. We can see how the TSX yesterday ended a little bit lower, so maybe there's an opportunity to read in to find out how Shopify might have contributed to that. I know we had a bit of a bounce on Tuesday, so what was going on Wednesday to make things pull back, and how does Shopify related to that? And then from there, I'm really going to go in and spend some time on the chart to find out what might be happening. And because we're looking at a really short-term volume increment, maybe I would be at this point looking at a much more short-term chart to see if there's any indicators or crossovers that might be intriguing for me to look at. So if I'm going to change the time frame on the chart, you'll notice up next to the symbol, this D here is signifying to me that this is a daily chart. I have the opportunity to really narrow down on some intraday movement by choosing smaller increments or smaller periods on my chart. So let's set these candles to 5 minutes to see what might be going on. And I'm going to zoom in by holding control and zooming in with my scroll wheel on my mouse to find out what might be happening here. I want to see here, I'm trying to identify if with these crossover points where these lines on my chart are moving averages. And you'll notice up in the top left-hand corner, we have 3 different moving averages of different lengths, right? The orange is the short term, blue is mid, and the purple color is our longer term. So which direction are these moving averages crossing over? When the short crosses above the longer averages, that's typically meaning short-term prices, or it is meaning the shorter-term prices are increasing at a rate faster than the long-term trend. So it's an opportunity. Where do these crossover points exist? And once again, if you've been to any of our technical analysis courses, and I would recommend if you haven't, might be a great opportunity to join us for this. I'd be also looking for, is there any other crossovers on some of the other supporting studies that I've got on my chart, like a MACD or an RSI, something like that, where I'm just now funneling from, I found a stock it's got some interesting details on the most active. I've tried to identify some news, and now I'm trying to integrate some technical behaviors to kind of make it like, what story is the stock trying to tell me, and does it fit into my investment plan?
Oh, that's excellent. You had me at chart, Jason. So the word chart kind of piqued my interest, and I think it'll really pique our audience's interest as well. So I want to do a little bit of a focus on technical indicators. Since we are talking about volatility, there's indicators and studies that are often used to find ideas. And you've actually even just shown us or given us a little bit of a trailer on that. So how can traders add these technical elements to their charts in Advanced Dashboard? Can you spend a little bit of time focusing on that a bit more?
Absolutely, I can do that for you. So let me jump back into the chart for us here. And the way that I've got this chart set up, this is kind of the basic way that I like to have my chart saved. But once again, to each his own. You can always go ahead and create it in a way that works best for you. First of all, maybe I'll touch on saving your chart first of all, so that once again, you can go ahead and add as many indicators to the chart as you like. But once again, you might be missing some of the finer points that the studies and the candles might be trying to show you if it's overwhelmed by lots of information. So you can save layouts either by clicking on the top of the screen here. We've got save. We also have got chart layout down here at the bottom. You can choose save. If we go to load chart layout, you'll notice that I've got a number of layouts that I've saved for myself. I've the one that we're using right now. I've tried to be a little bit more descriptive so that I know what I'm looking at. So that would be a recommendation that I would make to everybody. Be thoughtful. Your future self will thank you if you are thoughtful with the names of the layouts that you give them. And once again, when we save these layouts, then once you switch between securities, they're always going to be there. It's just a way to quickly do it. But when you're looking to add and remove or even edit studies, let's walk through that function. So I've got the studies as I like to see them, but there's another study that I find to be helpful, that help me give a little bit of extra information. I've just went full screen on the chart. Hopefully that gives a little bit broader picture to the audience, and you're able to accomplish that by clicking on this icon up in the top right hand corner. I'd caution you not to click the X, because that will actually shut down the component, but that's okay. If you do that, you can always add it back in, so not the end of the world. So the way that you're going to add studies to your chart is by clicking on the indicators button that's at the top of the screen. Now, the one that I want to add, that I want to show to everyone here, it's a volume-based study. It's the volume profile visible range. It's a pretty interesting study here, and it's worth reviewing and searching and making sure that it's appropriate for you. And once again, before you tackle and try to trade with any indicator, you want to make sure you've got a good understanding of what it's attempting to tell you. But what I find cool about this VPVR study is that we already can see at the bottom of the screen, we've got our volume bars that are there to show us how many shares have traded that day. So we can see if what days had more volume than the next. But what this VPVR study that's located on the right hand side is showing us, it's giving us an indication of where is the volume, at what price level is it centralized at. So it's pretty interesting this way. Not only is it saying at what volume is it at, but it's also giving you up and down volume for that. So it's once again giving you even more information, so I can see which prices have the most volume and which direction is the stock moving at in regards to the colors of the volume bars. You'll notice here that the volume bars are the ones that are bolded. This is where the majority of the volume is taking place, and these kind of shaded bars outside of the central range, that is kind of where less of the volume is taking place. And that might be pretty self-explanatory when you look at the candles on the chart. It is focused around the bands on the right. And then lastly here, this red line running across the middle of the screen, that's called the point of control. Okay, that is just signifying where the most volume has taken place for this particular stock. So just a bit of a story about that particular study. But once again, if you're looking to add any study to your chart, that's just simply done by clicking on indicators at the top of the screen. You're either able to scroll through this very extensive list of studies that are here, or you can type in a particular indicator, and it'll then start to narrow things down so that to help you find one that might be appropriate for you. If you're ever looking to edit a study, you'll notice on any of the studies, their names are always going to be listed on the left-hand side of the screen. Let's look at this VPVR. You can see if I highlight my mouse over this, it gives me a few separate options for me to either edit or remove the study. So you'll notice that we have a little eye. If I maybe only want this up there part of the time because I don't want it to distract from what's going on in the chart, if I click the eye, it's now removed. It's back to a cleaner looking chart. But as I'm entering into a more closer to a trading decision, I can go ahead and go ahead and bring it back up by hitting the eye and removing the hide. And then lastly here, we can see that we've got the settings. Here's where I can get in and change the inputs on the study. And this is not just for this VPR. This will be for all the studies that you add in. You can change the inputs as well as the style, like the colors for the up or the down volume can be manipulated here. I can change the color. For instance, if I'm really, if I wanted to make this a different color for myself, if I was really big on purple, I could go ahead and add that in. If that's your thing, by all means. Once again, one size fits all is not what Advanced Dashboard is all about. You have the opportunity to make this your own. All right.
Yeah, all kinds of opportunities, all the colors of the rainbow there, Jason. So that's an excellent start. I know we could spend hours and hours on charts, and I know you mentioned you have technical analysis classes that you run, and some of our other colleagues do as well. So I definitely encourage the audience to take a look at that. And we will give you some idea of there is resources even in the console. If you see other master classes, those are live interactive events where we really, really dive deep into things like technical analysis, or it could be if you're into fundamental analysis or options and things like that. So definitely check out those classes for sure. I want to finish off with one last question, Jason, related to options, because I know volatility has a big role in the pricing of options. Is there anything you can recommend in terms of or ways you would use Advanced Dashboard from an options perspective for those that are looking for some opportunities related to volatility?
Yeah, I sure could, Brian. And yeah, just to maybe cross sell our master classes as well. We do teach specific master classes. We've got Advanced Dashboard broken down into like a 6-part series. So if you want an hour dedicated just to charts, or if you want an hour dedicated just to options, check out our master class calendar, and we've got classes there to support you. But sure, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the. Let's go take a quick look at how some of the options information can be useful, and what's going to identifying volatile environments. All right, so we can see here, I'm sharing on my screen again. We're looking at US options on Shopify. I'm also going to go ahead and maximize my option chain as well here to really, so we can get a nice look of what's going on. The first thing that I want to show to everybody is, we'll notice here, there's a line chart. This is, it's just meant to be a quick reference of Shopify's price. The one interesting tool we have the opportunity to adjust it to is up here in the top right-hand portion of this chart is we have an HVIV selection. This is the historical volatility and the implied volatility. So historical volatility is looking into the past. It could be also known as the delivered volatility. It's looking how volatile has this particular investment been looking backwards. And implied volatility is looking how volatile is this particular stock set to be into the future. So, and historical volatility may impact a option premium, but implied volatility, most changes in that IV number most certainly will. So what's cool about this chart is I get to see a visual representation of, is a stock more volatile expected to be going forward, or is it more volatile looking into the past? So I can see here, in March at this particular time, or in May, as well as in July, that there is significant spikes in implied volatility. Those might be centered around earnings events or other product launches or other major, global socioeconomic things that it might be going on. But I get it. I get the opportunity to now see, because my option premium, some of that, the premium is somewhat dependent on how volatile the stock is. The more volatile environment we are going now and looking into the future, the more expensive my options can be expected to be. And so now I can see that the purple line has just crossed over the orange line very recently. So now we're trending into a more volatile environment. And that might be an opportunity for me to go research, is there an earnings event that's coming up that I need to be aware of? But then I also get an opportunity then to go look at our options information. So we can get a sense of where we think this stock may be going. One of the cool things about the option chain here in Advanced Dashboard is that we get to see many different expirations all at one time. So I get a look at the 10th of February, or I can even expand the 10th of March, and I can do a quick comparison between that. So I can do some analysis. I don't need to go from screen to screen to screen like I would in WebBroker. It's all there. Once again, it's at speed, access to information that we've been speaking about here. So once again, lots of information. Maybe one tip that I can give to everybody here, it's kind of a useful tool to identify where the market, where the range the market has kind of priced in for this option, for the stock to trade in. So let's look at, once again, we do teach classes all about straddles, but I'm going to kind of give you one little tip here. So if we think about buying a straddle, a straddle is when you buy a call and buy a put with one specific strike price at the same expiration. So if I look at the February 10th, $48 puts. If I was going to buy this, the call would cost me $223 and the put would cost me $258. Well, if I put those together, that's going to be what? $291, I guess, or $281 would be, if my math serves me right. $481, mind you. That $4.81 price is giving me the expected range plus or minus. So add $481 to the price, or subtract $481 to Shopify. That's the range at which the stock is expected to trade, and that's because that's priced into the straddle. So kind of an interesting way to use options to get an expected move on the stock, and you could go out future dates to find out exactly where that's priced in. But once again, just a very interesting way to really leverage that. And one last thing before we get back to the questions here, Brian, we wanted to see implied volatility on individual strike prices. That can be done by, here we're looking at the basic view. You can see that at the top of our screen. If we go ahead and drop down, there's many different views to get access to lots of information with regards to options. If we go down to the theoretical, view. The theoretical view allows us to put in pricing changes and timing and volatility changes to find out the theoretical price of our option premium, what it would be based on those changes. But also on this page, there is the implied volatility is listed. That's that second column from the left, really so you can then compare that to whatever the historical volatility is that's shown up on the top of the screen. So really useful information here.
Oh, that's fantastic, Jason. And I like how you gave that little tip. The market is pretty smart. It knows that it usually has those prices built in, but you can identify that with that little trick you were showing us, or even the historical and implied volatility chart. So a lot of great tools there for our traders.
You got it.
All right. So I know I've been hogging all the questions. I'm the one asking them all. Let's shift over and we'll ask our audience or see what our audience has put through. I know we do have some already, but before we go to that, what I want to do is remind everyone within the console, you do have the resources and links available. So those are things that you can, download that are related to this topic. There's some links in there that are handy to look at and other resources. So check out that if you're looking for more information. And remember our live Q&A, because we are wanting you to ask questions, you want to know where to put those questions, right? So make sure if you haven't seen it already, you want to find the live Q&A box. So type in your questions right there. And then lastly, there is a survey. So just before we don't have to squeeze it in very, very quickly at the last second, I want to remind you there is a survey on this event. So once we're done with the event, please fill that in and let us know how we did today. We'd love to hear your opinions on the event if it did add quite a bit of value to your day. So let's see what we've got as a question. I know I had a question from Farzan that kind of caught my eye here, saying, hello, my name is Farzan from Toronto, and my question is, when it comes to trading, can we get any confirmation from our email when our investment is going high or low? So any insight on that, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. I can add some value to that question, and thanks for putting that through, Farzan. And I appreciate your participation in the session. So let's jump into the platform, and here this might be an opportunity for me to show a little bit in WebBroker as well, because there's tools within WebBroker that just work, and they've got value too. So we're here to show off Advanced Dashboard, but let's also see what other usable tools we can find. So what I can suggest within Advanced Dashboard is taking advantage of the alerts functionality. Now we can add in the alerts component to any one of our sections that we have here. If we go ahead and maybe I'll add an alerts tool over here on the right-hand side. So I've got options and I've got market depth already preloaded. If I wanted to add in a third component, I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus symbol. And then under analysis, is it under analysis? Let's see. There it is, under trading. So there we go. Under trading, you can see that there's an alerts functionality. For this is your opportunity to, if you'd like to be proactively kept informed of what's going on, either in your account or out there in the market for specific indices or what have you, you have the chance to set up alerts so the platform will proactively is the right word, notify you of what's going on here. So let's say we go ahead and put in TD. I happen to have a TD alert already. If we go ahead and add a new alert, I've got TD here. If we go ahead and click on create alert, actually, let's go ahead and enter the symbol again at the top of the page. Here's where, so it's not proactively looking in your portfolio. So it is a bit of a customizable function, but you have the opportunity to set these alerts. So potentially if it crosses a particular point or is greater than or equal to, so you have the ability to really be thoughtful. And if there are specific data points, maybe you have identified a support point on TD, so that where the stock has historically been supported at from going below that point, you want it to be alerted to come back to make sure that support has remained intact. You can set up the alert. And let's say if it crosses below, $85, we're going to go ahead and create that alert, and then the platform will notify me of when that has happened. Even if I'm not looking at TD and the watch list or looking at a chart, you'll get a pop-up within the platform. So it doesn't provide you that email notification that you're looking for, Farzan, but that's where I thought WebBroker would be a great alternative for you. So if I just quickly jump back to WebBroker, I've got it tabbed. Once again, I've got the opportunity to work within both platforms and leverage the strengths of both tools. Under our research section, you can see here under tools, we have alerts down here at the bottom. And that's the opportunity for me to go ahead and create alerts for either for news in the market, economic reports, or security specific information like price action, like you're talking about. This can really do that. And if we talk about alert preferences, this is my opportunity to set particular emails. So when certain things happen, I'm going to be alerted directly to my email inbox. That would be the good way to leverage the capabilities of both tools.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, there are some things that may not necessarily be there, but they working off of the two platforms, you can definitely find what you're looking for. And once you set that alert, you're not going to have to worry about it. You can go back in and change it if you want to, but it's still going to alert you in your email. If you're using the platform, you could set the same one in Advanced Dashboard, and then it's going to make that alarm sound and show you when you're in the platform actively trading. So well, that's excellent. You showed us both options. I love it.
My pleasure.
All right, now we have a question from it's Bardaben saying, "Can I add my indicator like?" And I think it's pronounced Ichimoku. So I'm not sure if that one's available, but I hopefully I didn't butcher that one.
No, you got it right, Ichimoku. And some of the names of many technical indicators, they do have a very Japanese flair to them, and that's because like a lot of these candlestick charting came from like rice trading and the rice markets in Japan, centuries ago. So it's a little bit of a history lesson coming through from in your investing course as well. But Ichimoku is certainly one of the indicators that's available for you in Advanced Dashboard. So let me go ahead and show you where that is, and we can go ahead and add it to our chart so we can see how easy that process is. So you should now all see my chart again. I'll go ahead and maximize my chart to give it prominence on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and once again hide my VPVR so it's not as visually stimulating there. So we're going to go ahead and choose indicators. Once again, indicators at the top of the screen is where all of your studies, whether or not we're talking about upper studies that are going to be posted on the chart, or if we're talking about lower studies like some of these oscillators that we have down below, it's all found in indicators at the top of the screen. You can always once again scroll through, or let's see if I can spell Ichimoku. All right, you don't even really need to spell it all the way accurately. You can just start typing the way you think it should be spelled, and you'll notice that it comes up here on the screen. So now we've got the opportunity to see that. And then once again, if we'd like to edit some of the functionality, edit the colors, if we hover over the name of the study on the left-hand side, we've got our gear for us to really go ahead and get in and change the inputs to ensure. So maybe you're part of a trading group, or you're part of a newsletter that's got very specific inputs for studies, that you can go ahead and make these your own, like you can with many of the other customizable features within the platform. So great. Thank you for the question.
All right. Well, we thought that was a pretty specific indicator that we were looking for, and that's awesome. I'm glad it was there for Bardaban, and thanks for taking us through that. I have a really specific question from Mike saying how to set up a day average 5 crossover and a day average 20 alert for TD stock. Could you show us something like that?
Sure. Yeah, we can do our best to do that. So let me just make sure we've got this right. So how to set up a day average 5 crossover. So we're looking for the cross over the 5 over the 20. So once again, we can always go ahead and edit our studies to be that as well. So let's just first take a stab at doing that. I'm going to go ahead and edit our first study here for the exponential moving average that I have. I've got it set to 20 as my short term. If we wanted to make this 5, let's go ahead and make that change. And it said okay, and I guess I could have left that one at 20 because that was the second input that Mike wanted to see. But I'll go ahead and make my intermediate average be 20. Let's go ahead and hide my shorter average as well, so it's not going to confuse us. So here's a quick way that once again we've got an opportunity to, and Mike was looking at TD. I can go ahead and update the symbol so that everything is updated for us there. So once again, that's how we can leverage us in our study. So we can see that the last time, if we go ahead and zoom in on the chart, did it cross there? It looks like they kind of butted up against each other, but it doesn't look like there's really been a crossover in that particular study for quite some time. So we've got that opportunity that would be the way that I would typically do it, would be through the use of the chart, and I'm able to scan back and scroll and customize it to my personal needs. Because in terms of the if we go back and take it, the alerts, and the alerts, it's not going to be done in that specific way. Because if we go ahead and create a new alert on TD, the crosses are all around. They're more standard. They're more fundamental information as opposed to some of the technical specifics that you're looking at. If you are looking to get that specific and looking for specific chart patterns or specific technical indicators, using the screeners might be the right way to, might be a good opportunity for you to do that. I've just got a screeners tab that's already created at the top of my screen, and we can see here there's a whole selection that we get to choose from is a screeners or as a technicals area, which I can certainly go ahead and take a look at to find that particular information. But in terms of certain averages crossing over the other, it's not done. There's not that specific. There's not that specific sorting criteria. But what I might suggest that you do, and this is the nice thing about Advanced Dashboard, is that we're always looking to make this a more usable, a more specific platform that people have the ability to use. So you always will have the opportunity to provide your feedback. And I would recommend, if you're speaking with one of our really highly qualified representatives that man the phones on the Advanced Dashboard support line, let them know what you want to see. They'll be able to send that information through, so we can compile what's important to customers, so that when we're looking to make future releases, future improvements, that we can really tailor this to what people want to see. So if you've got feedback, we're always hungry to hear from you. So thank you for the question, Mike.
All right, thanks, Jason. And just so I know, just to kind of help reiterate that for myself as well, so you could set that up. You set up that actual average that Mike was asking for, but you just wouldn't necessarily get the alert, but you could see it when you're in Advanced Dashboard and see when those events would happen, right? If you're watching for it.
That's right. So you've got the studies, and we've edited the length of the averages as per Mike's recommendations, and we've been able to then spot them ourselves on the chart. Just unfortunately, there's not an alert tool that's going to allow us to do that. So there is an opportunity to distinguish when that specific event is happening through the charting package in its dashboard.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So now I have another question from Candace saying, can you show me how to set up technical support and resistance levels on a chart? So I think this one's pretty generic, which is great, but I think a really powerful one that you could definitely run us through, hopefully.
Yeah, of course, we can certainly do that. And really that brings us to a really important skill to learn within the charting packages. How do you draw up put drawings in the chart? How do you mark it up with some of the information that you want to know? So let's get ourselves into the chart so we can demonstrate that capability. So we're now back to the screen here. I'm going to go back to my flex sheet that I've got for myself. Let's go ahead and maximize the charts again so we can see the broader scope picture. All right, so you'll notice on the left-hand side, let's actually zoom out a little bit so we can see a little bit more. Maybe we can get a little bit more information. So you'll notice there's a lot of different icons over here on the left-hand side. If these icons are not displayed for you, you'll notice there's a little tab here at the very bottom. This is the hide drawings tool. So this is what your experience looks like. Just look for this little tab. This will expand it, so you now get access to all of the drawing tools that are available within the platform. Now, the easiest way for me to add in a drawing and adding in a support and resistance point is to just your standard line here. If we go ahead and this would be this icon here. If we go ahead and choose a trend line. Now, if we're talking about support and resistance, it's maybe a good understanding to kind of circle back to understand what that means, is looking back at the chart. Is there prices that the stock has been supported from going below, that maybe it's continued to bounce off that particular price point? And on the same point, is there a price point at which the stock had resisted going above? So, the market had tried to push it up, but the buyers weren't able to push it any higher because there wasn't that continued pressure of new buyers entering the market willing to pay more. So it's historically resisted going over a particular point. And when we're also thinking about support and resistance, one of the nice things to keep in mind is that the significance of those lines, the longer those lines have been intact, as well as the more touches on the top side and on the bottom side, those are going to add significance. So the longer and more touches, the more significant of an event that would be if the stock broke out above or below the support or resistance lines. All right, so let's draw one. They don't necessarily need to be horizontal. It could be support and resistance in a channel. But ideally here, we're looking to find a number of different points and where the stock has been supported at. I'll just quickly draw a line on here just to show. Now, technical analysis can be sometimes more art than science, and where I put my lines might be slightly different from you. But if, let's say, we wanted to start, because I've already selected my trend line, if we just click on the chart, you'll notice there's a little blue circle behind my cursor. And if we go ahead and just drag it up and maybe try and touch as many points as we can. So let's just maybe draw a support point there. And if we wanted to draw a secondary line, we can go ahead and just go ahead and select the drawing tool again, and maybe find a point where it's resisted going above. So once again, those are pretty quickly just drawn on the chart, but it's just a matter of adding in a trend line, finding out where, once again, we're in an upward trending environment for this particular stock. I know this is a fairly short-term chart. We're still on a 5-minute candle. But once again, that's kind of in that time period, that's kind of where the stock has been, resistant to going above and resistant going below. If you're looking to make some additional edits to these drawings, you've got the opportunity to get into the settings on each one of these drawings. If I go ahead and right-click on this bottom drawing here, I've got the opportunity to either clone, copy. I could hide that just like I could with my studies. Alternatively, if I select and highlight that, I can delete with this menu up at the top. Alternatively, if I get into the settings as well, what I wanted to show here is these extend to the right and extend to the left. If I want to extend this line to the right, so if I wanted to do some forward-looking projections, if I just simply go ahead and click that, I now get the opportunity within my chart to now I've got this drawing that will follow the chart and follow it up and up and up as this happens to go. So once again, as the market moves, I now have my visual indicators already there because I've extended them off to the right. So just a really easy way to take advantage of the drawings to help give us some important signals to refer back to. And once again, one signal when we're thinking about technical analysis is not always going to be a definitive moment. We are typically looking for confirmation across other signals. So when I know my moving averages are here, when we've crossed past a resistance point, is there a crossover or some other significant event on a moving average? Is there any other study or any other indicators such as maybe the RSI is broken above oversold or below overbought? Is there something that is going to also give me a confirming and understanding to help what the other metric is showing? So interesting way to analyze your chart.
Oh, thanks so much for answering that, Jason. That I think the viewer will really love the answer to that question. And like you said, you did reiterate, you want to have as many data points as you can to support, what direction this is going in, those indicators that might be in the chart and some that are underneath the chart. You mentioned a few. So that's great advice as well. I have a question from Jan. He's definitely enjoying this presentation because saying, how can I set up the layout of the flex sheet similar to Jason's?
Oh, we've got a fan out there. All right. All right. Yeah. We can definitely do that, Jan. That's something we can walk through. And once again, we're going to go through this, fairly quickly. So I do want to say that if customization is your thing, and Advanced Dashboard is a great opportunity to take advantage of that, we do have a whole course on customizations, and you'll do notice there's a learn section at the top of the page, as well as in Webbroker. You can get in to see our masterclass calendar when you get into our learning center. But if we're going to walk through customization, let's take an opportunity to do that now. I think it's once again, just like the channel configuration, your ability to manipulate and customize the platform is an essential skill to really get the most out of the platform. So what we'll do to start creating your own custom tab within the platform, you'll notice at the top of the screen, next to where I've got my screeners, my last tab that I've created, there's a little plus symbol. Alternatively, there's also a layout manager button. Each button is going to bring you to the same place. So if we go ahead and click on layout manager, if we're in layout library, these are the four, you'll see that these are the first four tabs that you have on the left-hand side of your experience. If you customize or inadvertently delete them and you want them back, the layout library ones, the factory default layouts are there and saved for your use if you ever need to bring them back. But if we're looking to make a completely new view, that's where we're going to go to custom layout. Now, from within this screen, you've got 3 separate layout styles for you to choose from. I'm partial to flex sheet. That's how I like to do it. It's kind of the best of the both worlds, I feel, between the two. It allows me to be customized, but it gives me kind of a defined layout to work within. But desktop and grid both have their benefits as well. So I'd recommend you trying them all out to find out what would be best for you. And once again, our advanced dashboard customization class goes into each one of these. But for me, I choose flex sheet, and if we're looking to kind of make it along the same lines of what I've created for us already, I like, once again, this one works for me, the 3 vertical panes. You're choosing the structure of what you'd like to make it. Okay, then you need to give it a name. I'm gonna get real creative like I've demonstrated in the past and just name it today's date. So now we've got our tab named just the way we've named it right at the top of the screen. So you can quickly scan between all of your different components. Okay. Here, once again, the hamburger menu at the top of the screen allows you to rename or even delete the workspace if you feel that it's redundant, you're not using it, you don't want it to take up the screen space, get rid of it, make something that's more advantageous for you. So now here's what we get. We have the opportunity to choose and whichever components are going to work best for you. So if we go ahead and click on the plus symbol, you can see that it's broken down into 5 specific categories. You've got your account details. You've got trading related information. We've got analysis. So if you're looking to do fundamental analysis, if you're looking to look at some of the financial statements, earnings analyzer, things like that, that's all going to be available through here. We've got news and markets. And then also we've got information about our master classes as well as release notes is going to be available for you as well. Okay, so for instance, on the left-hand side, let's go ahead and just make it similar to what we did. I'm gonna go ahead and add in a watch list, which is under trading. We're going to keep this all very basic so we can keep it all just keep it nice and succinct. So I've got a watch list that I've named banks. I know there's more stocks than just banks in here, so it's be easy on me, guys. In the middle of the screen here, I'm going to go ahead and put our chart. Okay, that's also under trading. Once again, the beauty of the program is you put in the components, they're going to be suitable for you. But I think just demonstrating the construction is kind of be an essential skill, as I was mentioning. On the right, I'm going to go ahead and put news just for something a little different. So here's where we get back to the point where configuring your channels is going to be the important way to get everything working together. So on our watch list, once again, thinking about what I want to happen, I want the watch list to send information and be received by my other components. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the configuration button up at the top, and my watch list is sending on blue. My chart is going to be receiving on blue, and then the news will also be receiving. So that's all done, good to go. Let's go ahead and click on Tesla here in my watch list. You'll see that my Tesla chart is populating and my news is populating as well. All right, one last function that I want to show because I think it's important because once again, everybody needs to make this their own. If we see here in each of the top left-hand corners of the components, there's the hamburger menu. The hamburger menu, these 3 lines, if I click it, there's 2 things I want to point out here. One is the font. You have the ability to increase or decrease the font. So if it's not the right size for you, you can make it a little bit more visible or shrink it down so you get access to more information. So that's a nice way to customize it further. The last thing I want to show you is under the hamburger menu, you'll notice that there's an about selection. Each of these components will have the same about selection, but they have their own name. So this is going to bring you to our online kind of self-service user manual so you can get information about that component to help you learn about how to use it and how to customize it. If you're looking for the general help for Advanced Dashboard, it's this icon up here, the eye with the circle around it. I've got it bookmarked on my page. I would recommend the same for everybody else out there in the audience.
Well, thanks so much, Jason. Yeah, I didn't pay attention in statistics class very well, so I know there's got to be, though, in terms of the combinations you can do in Advanced Dashboard, there's got to be well over several million that you could do from a custom perspective. You showed us one way. That was excellent, and I think that'll be really helpful to Edgen that was looking for that demonstration there. And everybody else has some pieces that they can take from that on how to customize a new layout for sure. So that's great.
Absolutely. For sure.
So just
it's
a reminder,
not
everyone,
one size fits all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just to remind everyone, we are at the hour or a little tiny bit over. Are you okay with sticking around for about another 10 minutes? I've got a couple questions that did come through that we really want to go through. Is that okay, Jason?
100%. If we've got some hot button questions, let's get to them.
Perfect. But before we get to that too, anybody that does have to go, I know a lot of people have pretty busy schedules. If you're doing this on, just in between meetings at work or whatever you're able to do or your situation, if you can fill in that survey. So maybe we'll throw that up on the screen again. that there is a survey icon down at the bottom. So if you can fill in that survey, if you do have to go, because once you leave the room, you don't have access to that link. So if you can launch that before you leave, if you do have to get going right now. But if you're okay to stick around, we're going to go for another 10 minutes. I got a couple questions that are related to technical analysis and the charts again. So if you're all right with sticking around, I'll ask Jason those, and we should be done in about another 10 minutes or so. Okay. So that being said, I do have a question from Dale that is saying, since we're in the middle of earnings season, is there a way to evaluate a company's upcoming earnings? So yeah, I guess we've got a question on earnings and another one I think I saw about technical analysis that we wanted to get into.
100%. Great question, Dale. Thanks for bringing that up. And here's where I would say, well, just like we did with alerts, Advanced Dashboard has got great information, but let's not discount what WebBroker has to offer. So you've got quick access because it's just a tab on your browser. You can always go back and look at the calendars. You can look at the fundamentals tab. Although it's here in Advanced Dashboard, if you've got information in WebBroker, once again, you can compile it so you can get a full picture if there's something else that you're looking for. So that would be once again another good thought. But let's jump in so I can show you exactly where we're going to find that in Advanced Dashboard. So once again, we quickly showed it off earlier, and you can always add in earnings information into your own screen. So once again, if you wanted to add right in the middle of my screen, I've got my charts tab. If I wanted to kind of have that once again tab and allow another component to share that center portion of the screen, under analysis, that's where you've got access to all of this other information. Once again, if you're looking for analyst information, we're looking for financial statements, we're looking for estimates and things like that. That's all here. So you can, if you like to kind of could do a quick combination of some technical and fundamental analysis, you can add these in. It's not kind of a style exclusive. You can once again make this give you the information you want to see. But alternatively, the way that I like to do it is that because everything can be linked together cross-platform, the analytics tab that's at the top of the page already has most of all of that information that we could have added into the tab, and it's already linked to our blue channel. So if we go to analytics, so Tesla was the last stock we were looking at. It happens to be up here. It's available for us to review. So now at the top of the screen, we can see we've got company information. We can do a bit of reading about the particular company, check up on its history, check the earnings dates that it had in the past, so we can be prepared for when they're going to be, the key dates when they're going to be reporting into the future. So we can see here we can see that the year-end report from Tesla would have been preliminarily set for yesterday. So once again, that's ideally we know that ahead of time so we can be prepared. But once again, this is going to help make sure that you can stay at top of things so they don't catch you off guard. If we're looking for statements and other ratios and things like that, you can see where if you have a really high need for information, or you're looking to get specific information to understand their debt to equity ratios, you want to understand what their sales, net sales, receivables, all that information. This is all once again a wealth of information. It's not just, we've been focusing a lot around charts and technical analysis and scans. Well, guess what? The old-fashioned stuff is here too, and it's never, there's lots of good information to discern from that. But if we're looking, once again, we've got estimates and ratios. This is where we can track and look at year over year how other specific indicators are doing, earnings per share, dividends. We want to see if they're growing, if there is one for that matter. So lots of great information. But if we wanted to then look at, let's see where the earnings are there. There's the analyst information. There we go. So the analyst information is just really, once again, just another opportunity to get another perspective, just similar to kind of not focusing in on one technical indicator, not being able to focus in on one analyst expectation as well. We get an opportunity to see if we can build some consensus with regards to the platform, and we get an opportunity to see target prices as well. You can see that this particular, based on the different analysts that are being reported on, it gives us a particular target price for this particular company. So once again, lots of great information for us to do it. And you've got it tabbed in one kind of easily to understand and unpack location.
Perfect. Have you used before, Jason? Can we take a quick look? Have you used the earnings analyzer previously?
Sure, absolutely. Sorry, I just stopped the screen share. Let's jump back into that. I was actually looking for the earnings analyzer, but I didn't happen to see it on this particular this particular page. So let's go ahead and add one and add it in here. So if we're going to add in a tool, just like we did on our own unique flex sheet, we can click on the plus symbol. And if we go to analysis, we've got earnings analyzer. And once again, the symbols, when you add in any new component to your sheets, things don't come linked. So we'll need to make sure that we set it to receive. And once again, I'm just, for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and type in Tesla so I can get that to populate. But this is an opportunity. Not only are we getting an opportunity to see what there's our candles on the particular company as well, but here down below we get to see where we now get an opportunity to compare and look for trends between the earnings per share. We get to look at what estimates are amongst the different analysts as well as from the company, and we get to see where like the projected range at and identify volatility within the chart here. So this standard deviation that we're seeing here, these light blue bands that we're seeing on the chart, volatility is not going to be a directional indicator, but it is giving us an idea of what the likelihood or chance the stock is going to move. So this standard deviation allows us to identify, and if you're looking to use that on your standard charts, maybe adding in Bollinger Bands might be an opportunity for you to get some similar information on your base chart. But if we're looking at this earning analyzer, once again, we're now seeing a volatility component as well as cross-referencing that with specific fundamental information such as earnings per share, and then we're getting our analyst information, we're getting our volatility ranges and things like that. So great information, as well as next earnings date. We can see this up in the top right hand corner. So yeah, thanks for that suggestion, Brian. I would be remiss not to show this. It's a pretty unique and useful tool that the platform has to offer.
Yeah, no, I love how you went through all that information that we have in terms of the analyst ratings and getting ready to look at, what you might think the earnings are going to do. I think this tool kind of puts it together within a chart format. I know you've shown a lot of great chart tools as well, but I think you combine all that stuff together to give you a little bit of a picture for upcoming earnings. That being said, I know in the essence of time, we've got one more. This one, and you don't have to go through everything because we could probably spend days if we wanted to talk about this for for quite a while.
Right.
But we have a question. Looks like it was from Alice, saying that can you share some other technical indicators and studies that might help me navigate volatile markets?
Sure could. I appreciate the question, Alice. And once again, just as a cross-selling opportunity for our master classes, we do not only we teach about the introduction to trend analysis as well as technical analysis and about the skills to interpret and understand candlestick charts and patterns, but we also do teach about specific studies as well. We talk about moving averages, Bollinger Bands, MACD, RSI, stochastics. We do have where we dive in deep. So if you're looking for a greater understanding of these very commonly used indicators, I would recommend joining us for those classes. But so those would be kind of if I'm ticking off ones that would be highly used, would be kind of the ones to refer to. But let's go back to the chart so I can reiterate how those would be added in. So I'll start sharing here one last time and jump into the chart. So we are actually, now that we spoke about standard deviation on that, let's go ahead and make sure we get Bollinger Bands onto our chart so we can actually get a chance to overlay that with our candles, which can be an important view. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got charts still maximized on my screen. Once this loads up, we'll go ahead and get the indicators. We're going to go up into indicators. We can see the Bollinger Bands happens to be down at the bottom, so no need to go searching for that. Here's a very interesting one. So once again, that's that standard deviation. Typically, it's set to 2 standard deviations. But once again, if you'd like to set this to 1 standard deviation, or that's this here, or even set it out to 3 standard deviations, you have the opportunity to do that. A standard deviation, once again, is just showing us the volatility and expected range that the stock is going to trade in. Absolutely, the stock can trade outside of that probability zone, as it's shown that it did earlier yesterday afternoon. So once we are still looking at a very short-term chart, so just as a frame of reference, but it is telling us where the stock is expected to trade. And as you have kind of volatility contractions, you'll notice that they will at some point be followed by an expansion of volatility. So we're now expecting larger things or more movement to happen. And we know that Tesla had its earnings event yesterday, right? So that could have been an opportunity for that expansion of volatility, so that the market is predicting a wider swing in prices, and we even are noticing a gap up here in that stock from yesterday's closing price to tonight's to this morning's open. Another way to kind of integrate tools together is to use the screener tool. The screener does have technical opportunities to screen for, like we mentioned earlier. A gap up would be one of those choices, so that you don't even need to go find these. You can allow the system to do the legwork for you, and that could be, once again, putting technology to use can be a pretty powerful thing. So beyond that, once again, we've got our moving averages. It's not uncommon to use multiple moving averages, and once again, we teach this in our classes in much more detail. But we're ultimately, what we're looking for is we're looking to get the trend across different lengths of time. And when we see those moving averages cross over each other, they start to begin to tell a story. So once again, we've got two moving averages like Mike wanted earlier. We have a 5 and we have a 20. Let's go ahead and hide the Bollinger Band just briefly. When we see a short-term average, which is the 5, crossing above a longer-term moving average, which is the blue 20, that tells us that near-term prices are increasing faster than longer-term prices, which could potentially signify a buying opportunity, right? So once again, you're going to need to do your own research and ideally look for confirmation points across other indicators, but it is one data set that can help with that. And if I could just leave everybody, I know we're at time, but I want to leave everybody with one further learning opportunity. I want to go back into WebBroker. And if we go to WebBroker here at the top of the page, if we go to research and under stocks, once again, we're going to give you a little bit more useful information. If we go to Tesla and bring that up, so we're talking about the same company. Over here on the right-hand side, if we go to technicals, in this technical section within WebBroker, you're putting the tool to work, and it's scanning the market for all sorts of technical indicators. And here's one where we have a price crosses the moving average. So here's where we can learn and I'd have the system identify when specific events are happening. But if you're looking to learn more about what a particular indicator's crossover means, this graduation cap at the top of the screen is where it gets us into the technical education section. And if we look at indicators, so we just identified where yesterday there was a double moving average crossover, right? We had the short term crossed over the long term. Here's where we have the opportunity to learn all about that event. We get a visual as well as we get some important trading considerations. So once again, gone through that very quickly, but once again, go to the technical section, click on the graduation cap, and then you have the opportunity to really learn what that event is all about and how you can use it to your best advantage. So that would be, hopefully that was enough to satisfy.
Oh, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Jason. It reminds me of those like 1980s game shows where you get a number of parting gifts, right?
Yeah.
So these are gifts you can take away and continue to learn with. So that's great. That being said, though, this is the end of the road for this session, but it's not the end for your learning journey. Just a reminder that we still have those resources and links that we wanted to show you. I think we can pull that up on the screen. There is that link for explore that. There's some resources and links for more additional information if you're looking for it. And then we also have, there's the master classes and additional upcoming live webinars. So if you're going to continue to attend these, there's going to have more and more great information coming your way. And then also remember that there is a section where there is a contact label. So that little envelope down at the bottom, if you want us to contact you to help you with opening an account or helping getting Advanced Dashboard launched, whatever it may be, we do have experts that are designed. That's their main role, is to help you with this and see if they can just assist you with anything like that in terms of opening an account. So that being said, just a reminder, the last one is the survey link. So if you do have a chance, I know I appreciate all those that stuck around. I know we went a little bit over, but we wanted to provide some more information for you. Definitely fill in that survey and tell us how we did today. Jason, how are you feeling? Is your brain all right? Hopefully you're not too tired.
It's been a lot of fun. I've appreciated the opportunity, and I hope everyone's got a lot of value from this. Advanced Dashboard is a very powerful tool that you have the opportunity. That I think we've hammered home. Repetition is helpful here. It's customizable to what you need it to be. So I hope everybody takes advantage of it.
Yeah, and I think our audience, their brains are full. They got lots of information. Maybe sometimes it could even seem like it's it's too much, but as you said, take it in little bite-sized pieces, and attend those other classes and look at those help videos and help links, and so a lot of great information available for everything. All right. Well, thanks so much, Jason. It was my pleasure. I'm glad I could join you in this today and then to help steer the ship, but you did all the work. But thanks so much, and thank you for our audience. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.